Welcome to today's live stream. We're kind of doing it a little bit early today because it's going to be a hot one. Uh, I think that I have fully figured out how to be doing this out here in the garden with all the accoutrements that I have. Before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to our usual sponsor, my wife at Farmer Florist, Laureen Hulbig Floral Design. Um, if you would, or if you're bored of my always being sponsored by my wife, then hey, maybe be a paid, think about becoming a paid subscriber to the channel. Like right now, unfortunately for me, my only paid subscribers are my wife and one other person who I'm not really sure if they want me to give them a shout out or not. If you are my one other paid subscriber, hey, let me know. I'll give you a shout out during one of these live streams. Today I am just kind of coming on quick because, or I shouldn't say quick. I don't even know. I'm not, I think I'm working on my awkwardness of doing these live streams. So I have a couple of things that I do want to talk about. So I thought I'd just kind of come out, start talking about them. Um, I have really fun, exciting news. I am going to be presenting in Cambridge on a literature review for therapeutic skateboarding that I've done, which is kind of fun and exciting. But this weekend, I'm going to be speaking at Lesley University about mentorship and leadership. So that's going to be kind of like a little bit of what I wanted to sort of talk about here because it goes with sort of the theme that I've been sort of building on in these other live streams and in the piece that I just released on medication. There are aspects of being neurodivergent that are different. Hey, hey, honey. You missed your advertising plug. Um, but anywho, I'm here just to kind of talk a little bit about this idea that I'm going to be talking about this weekend, which is leadership in education and um, in just learning in general. Part of the learning cycle is to be both learner and teacher. And I think that's one of the things that we have short circuited a little bit in our modern age that we really can fix quite simply, which is sort of the purpose behind this whole educational movement that I'm pushing. Okay, it's not just about trying to get everybody a metacognitive mentor. It's about getting everybody the opportunity to become a metacognitive mentor, to take something that they have learned and be able to share it with another person and feel good about it. We know that um, experiences of leadership, experiences, even if you're a parent and you have a young child, that chance where the kid can be the boss for a few seconds, it, it, it does something. You can look at the primate studies, okay, in terms of alpha male, hierarchy within the group. All right, the ones that have the most opportunity to express leadership are the ones that are often the most healthy. And it's not like that the sicker ones become lower status. It has been shown kind of conclusively that lower status leads to illness. And we don't really have anything in our society to uh, really grasp onto that. And it's so connected to education. We teach kids, but they never get a chance to really express that unless they go, 4 years to college, 2 more years to get a master's, and then finally your PhD. And, after umpteen years, finally you can say, that your education means something. And that's really not how learning works at all. The way learning works is you confront a problem. When you confront a problem, your brain releases this hormone called cortisol. Now, cortisol is a stress hormone, but it gets you paying attention, and that's part of its job. It also stimulates the neurotropic pathway for brain growth. So when you get confronted with a problem, you get startled. But that's part of that startled is the brain being prepped for figuring out what the solution is. So, I mean, if you think about it in the classic teaching scenario, kid makes a mistake. You as a teacher go, hey, you've made a mistake. They get boom, oh, little blast of cortisol right there. They're paying attention to your lesson now. And as a teacher, if you can grab what is called the teachable moment in that space, well, now you're going to be handing the student something that they're going to remember. But we have sort of stepped back from that um, in our actual face-to-face educational procedures. It's sadly becoming much more commonly exploited by computer-based systems. Okay, and I'm not saying that I'm against computer-based systems exploiting this particular thing. I'm encouraging educators and parents to do the same sort of thing, but like more than that, actually, I would like everybody to know this is how learning really works. You make a mistake, you have a moment of stress, and then some that gets your attention focused looking for an answer, which hopefully there'll be a teacher or a mentor there who can help guide you through that process. And what you learn in that process, your brain is now primed to lay down. So that's the exact opposite of this system where you take a test, you know, like you study all week for the test, you take the test on Friday, and then you get the test back on like Tuesday or Wednesday with all the X's on it. And you never really go over what was wrong, what was right. And if you do, it's with an entire group of people days later. It's not really focused on what your weakness spots were and what you need to look out for. But it doesn't even matter because if you, that whole learning experience where the cortisol primed you, well, that was just right there in that moment where you received the test and you realized you didn't do so well on it. Okay, that's the moment where the teacher should have been there to bring up and talk to you about it. So you can see this is like an excellent spot to put your computer-based AI program into that spot. Okay, and I do think that there is a benefit, but the other piece of it too is that learning happens between people, and even if you have all of that perfect computer response time to failure to be right there with an explanation. Um, well, I have two criticisms. One, I don't, you know, you actually have to be metacognitively aware that you need to be paying attention to it because I don't think the human brain is keyed to just learning from the computer. You need to be learning from a human to direct you to the computer so that once you learn from the human how to learn from the computer, well, now you'll be able to like accept that, you know, but we hardly ever do that with students. Um, and so, uh, this idea of like mentorship for everybody, okay, is really really key because we're in a very real sense we are moving into an age where our computer technology and our science of how learning works is really going to become very very tightly joined. But the one thing that the science is telling us is that the technology is never going to be able to touch, or like if it does, you know, I believe we're going to need quantum computers or something much much more sophisticated than what we have right now to be able to make that emotional connection. um, and part of that emotional connection is the ability to become a leader afterwards. And so I guess to go to my final point, it's really, you know, the educational process that we have, it stops after that test, okay, or maybe after the computer has given you a rundown of what you did wrong, or maybe there was a teacher right there who did it, okay, or you know maybe it was another student, maybe it was your brother, okay, your sister, your mother, your neighbor. You know, this is, I think, one of the pieces that is being lost as we over professionalize what education is. We need educational professionals, but we have to understand that the learning process itself requires a person to be there. And then after that person has been there, you need to let the student go off on their own and try it and be that person, completing the cycle. So once the cycle is kind of completed, the student is going to, they're going to try to teach another student what they've learned, how they've done it. And in that process, they deepen their actual knowledge about whatever it was they were supposed to learn, but it also feeds into this learning cycle, social connection. In the classroom, we might call this the classroom culture. It's a culture of learning. It's a culture where we understand how each other learns and how we can support them. And that really is, you know, a big piece of this idea of restorative education. So thank you all for, tuning in here. And, you know, thank you to our sponsor, Lorene Hulbig Floral Design, who is not going to be at the market this weekend because they are up. My wife is uh, part of a Dave Matthews like cult, so every now and then her cult members, they all gather together to go see Dave. And so she's already shared with me some really great pictures of Dave Matthews. Maybe actually I'll make that like the thumbnail of this presentation. But hope you're having fun up there, hon. Thank you all for tuning in. And I'll be doing another one of these soon. Thanks.